Hey, welcome everybody, and welcome to Talking Niagara. Good morning, Mike Cushman. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so it's by-election day today, and the Liberals only need to win one seat in order to have a majority in the House.
Well, they'll win two. I gotta say, I'm late because I was watching this guy being interviewed on. I go over to Fox every once in a while to see what kind of
Yeah,
idiocy is going on in the world
yeah,
of the United States, and they have this guy, Republican Burchett, Burchett, and he's talking. I've never listened to somebody so idiotically ignorant in my entire life. I can't believe he is such an ignorant. Who hires somebody that is that empty-minded ignorance? I can't believe it. And yet they
yeah,
have him on TV. This is going to go down in history. They're going to mock this guy in time come by.
yeah,
This is the stupidity of the American voter.
yeah. Well,
Anyway, so that's my excuse for being late. Anyway,
yeah,
so we back to Canada. Yeah, we have the by-elections today.
yeah,
Certainly, it seems we are told that most certainly that the Liberals will get two of the three, possibly three out of three, but at least two out of three, and those
yeah,
two being in and around Toronto.
yeah. Yeah, and the point being is the two Toronto ones they reckon they'll get anyway. They only need one now for a majority, so that's an important step. But that one in Quebec might be the thorn in the side.
Well, we don't need it anyway.
Yeah,
If they get
they
the two
don't.
in Toronto, they don't need it. They
Well,
only
the
need one
irony,
of the ones in Toronto anyway. They only need one
yeah,
of the three to make a majority, don't they?
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And the point being is they may even win the Quebec seat, because I've seen some commentary about it, what was going on, and one day you're hearing commentary that it's completely going to PC. The next day, it's get a Liberal guaranteed victory, so you don't know where you sit with that one, you know.
No, the Quebec one is the only one with question. We are told anyway.
Yeah,
We are told that the other two are firmly liberal, traditional liberal seats. However, that didn't work too well for the Liberals at a couple of by-elections. Remember, back when Trudeau was still in, but that seems to be changing. Like Trudeau came to Toronto and bargained hard for one of the seats there that was a traditional Liberal seat, hadn't been anything but Liberal for about 40
yeah,
years, and he lost it despite the high-powered campaigning he did, which
yeah,
showed you that the Liberals were not a choice for the people if Trudeau was the leader. But now
yeah,
Carney is the leader, and the very opposite is happening. Not only are you having seats that were solidly liberal not being at risk anymore, but you actually have conservative seats and NDP seats that were
well,
at risk moving over
let's
to the Liberals.
yeah, and let's be honest. What we have here today is the Liberal Party under Trudeau, under its final years of Trudeau, and the Liberal Party under Carney are not, just happen to be two different political parties sharing exactly the same name. They're not, they are different beasts entirely. Carney's a different type of leader than Trudeau is. It's, coincidentally happens to be the Liberal Party, but he's rebirthed the Liberal Party and kept it afloat all at the same time.
Well, the fact that Gladue crossed the floor and she was a staunch conservative
Yeah,
tells you that the Liberals have moved into the center, so much so that they're claiming that he's actually a little bit of a conservative.
yeah,
And that's why he's had his appeal to conservatives because 4 conservatives would cross the floor. So they're saying, well, what's the point of having the liberals when the liberals are acting like conservatives?
Yeah.
I think, though, the truth of the matter is he's moved the party into the center. He has stolen, if you like, conservative ideas, but they were also his own ideas. Remember back when Trudeau went out west to Vancouver to consult with Carney before he was a politician at that point, just months before he was, and consulted Carney and said, well, what do we do? And Carney says, get rid of the carbon tax. It's the first thing you got to do. And that was a pillar of environmental, wokeism for the Liberal Party.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to get rid of that. But it was a complete and utter failure, and it really didn't do what it was supposed to do. And Carney told them quite flat, get rid of that thing. As soon as he got into power, he did. Boom, gone.
Yeah, bang. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And in doing so, he changed the course of, because the Liberals became more practical, more pragmatic, and got on with the process of power.
So what is the appeal of Mark Carney? Now, I was listening to Paul's show, Paul with Chris Regis, a little while ago. I think the last one, they were talking mostly about regional government, which Chris Regis has a pretty good insights on. Like he follows that very good. He's got a lot of a lot of really good ideas about that and insights about that. But then they went on during somewhere in the show, they started going on against Carney. They started ragging on Carney like crazy. And believe me, they had Carney derangement syndrome like way out in left field. Like they were just like, they sounded exactly like the Trump derangement syndrome people had during Trump's first term, where Trump couldn't walk on a piece of ground without turning it into an evil little space. So they talked about Carney like that. They had a huge Carney derangement syndrome. I don't know where they got it. He's evil. He's doing nothing but making himself more wealthy. He's corrupt, all this kind of stuff. And I thought to myself, geez, look at this derangement syndrome thing's going around.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. Moving.
But my point here was that Carney has instilled an amount of confidence in a lot of different people. We may expect there's up to 12. I was listening, up to 12 possible members of other parties that will cross the floor to join the Liberals. It's not like there are 12 who have considered it. Now, it's not going to be for sure that that's going to happen, but the Liberals seem to have a way in which to talk to any one of these constituents and talk them into crossing the floor. And there's a big hoofah about it right now. And I will quote Harper. Harper said when he got people cross the floor to him, he says, this goes on all the time. The only people that complain about floor crossers are those of the party that the people came from, right? They're the ones. So the Liberals were crying about it when some of their members crossed the floor and joined the Conservatives, and now the same thing's happened. And this is a thing that's been going on since Confederation. So it's been an option wide open for any elected representative to make that decision based on what they think is, ostensibly for the good of their region, their riding.
And Mike makes the point it's a reflection on the poor leadership of other parties as to where we are now.
Well, the NDP is out in the wilderness, despite the fact I don't know anything about Ari Lewis. I do know about his father. Stephen Lewis was an amazing speaker, a terrific man. I mean, he was like, he just demanded respect immediately when he walked in the room, and you knew that you could sit down and have a beer with the guy if you wanted to. He walked in the room. He was impeccably dressed, astonishingly well spoken, And if he's anything like his dad, he may be able to bring this party up. But right now, they're in tatters.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
They're not going to be part of the landscape for at least until 2029.
Yeah.
And with these by-elections, if they go the way the Liberals hope they go, they'll get at least one, but if probably get two, possibly three. They will not have to call an election until 2023 or 2029. Pardon me. They will not have to call an election until 2029. If it was still a minority, we would have had one later this year. But if they don't, we don't have to worry about election until 2029. That's a big expense we don't have to endure, and we can get on with business.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So St. Catherine's is 150 years old. They've got a celebration Saturday, May 2nd at noon till 4 p.m. at Montebello Park. It's free family fun, food activities, entertainment, and lots more. I'm sure we'll hear more about this in the near future.
Well, who named it St. Catherine's and why? I never knew that. Why?
St. Catherine's.
Is it a Catholic saint or is it an Anglican saint? Was it an Anglican that named it St. Catherine's?
Don't know.
Or was it a Catholic?
Yep. Okay. So we're going to have to find out. It's your task to find that out, Dave. What was the origins of the name St. Catherine's? I imagine it was probably called St. Catherine's before it actually came together as a city.
Well, the thing about Catholic countries, they're extremely unimaginative when it comes to naming towns. It's either St. John, St. Joseph, St. Mary, Saint this, Saint that. It's all saints, right? So they're extremely unimaginative when it comes to naming a town. They just pick their favorite saint and name the town after their saint.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure that the Anglicans were any much smarter with it. But they're more likely to name them after the towns they came from, like Boston or York or or London. Like we got London. London's got a London. The United States has got a London. United States has got a Boston. There's a Boston in England. There's a Boston here in Ontario.
Yep.
So they're completely.
The only thing about Boston is Boston, England. Most people in England don't even know it exists. It's so small.
Well, the one Boston, Ontario is like a village. So
yeah.
But still, it's people from the old country naming things after. But then we get into Quebec, it's like St. Lawrence and Montreal, Mount Royal. It have to be something to do with either the royalty or Saint this or Saint that.
Yep.
So
all right.
But then when you get a really neat name like Pile of Bones, was Regina. So they're trying to, so they got this really cool name, Pile of Bones, and everybody knows it in Saskatchewan. So what do they change it to? Regina, so they could suck up the Queen Victoria. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, but it comes off the tongue more than Pile of Bones, doesn't it?
Yeah, Pile of Bones is so much cooler.
Right.
You don't get, if you want to look at really cool place names, look at the place names of Tasmania, because they didn't get changed. They got named what the locals called them, and the authorities didn't come around and sort of politically correct them. So you'll find some really cool names in Tasmania, town names.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, moving on. Viktor Orban loses his election after 16 years in power in Hungary.
16 years. Now, he got into power right around the time there was all kinds of mass migration coming into Europe. He was the one that put up the fences around Hungary and said, no, you ain't coming in here anymore. We're not obliging the EU mandates on these. The EU mandates had all kinds of really flaky ideas. Well, we have to accept all these people and so on and so forth. But as soon as they got into the country, they tried to push them to another country, like Italy and France did. They tried to push the illegals back and forth across the border. Here, no, you take them. No, you take them. But I mean, in their officially they're supposed to accept them, but unofficially they're trying to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Now Orban got a lot of sort of backing because he was against that kind of thing, and the people of Hungary kind of followed that. Yeah, no, we don't want so many illegals, and we don't want this and that. However, Orban's days are numbered, and they've finally come to an end. He was way too much of an authoritarian. He was doing what Trump's doing right now. You know, he was trying to get rid of government institutions and those things that democracies and so on. So finally, the Hungarian people had enough of them and got rid of them, and they did it in a big way.
Magyar's teaser party got 138 of 199 seats in the parliament, and Orban's Fidesz KDNP party got 55 seats, and another party got 6 seats to round it all up. So so actually, and it was a record turnout. There was 70% turned out to vote.
Now, this is a big, massive failure for Trump, evidently, because Trump had campaigned for Orban. He had made it very well known in Hungary that Orban was his man, and you want to get on my good side, you're going to vote for Orban. Or maybe you'll get some more, I don't know, maybe some more tariffs or whatever if you don't. A la the Brazilian election, and they're going after the previous president, but it didn't work. And this apparently has shaken the Republicans in the United States down to the very core.
Yeah.
The same kind of way that Obama and Hillary Clinton were shaken to their core when Brexit happened. When Brexit happened, that was an indication to them that they were going to lose the election, that people, generally speaking, were shifting right away from the Democrats in the United States. Because when Obama looked at when Brexit happened, that was a wake-up call to him. We're in trouble here in the United States. Trump is a lot stronger than we thought he was because of the general trend towards people worldwide. And you find at that particular time, he started to take Trump very seriously. It was too late then, but he was campaigning on behalf of Hillary Clinton, obviously, and it didn't work. And now the Republicans are feeling the same thing. There's this general shift away from hard right policies, and they feel that what has happened to Orban in Hungary will be reflected in the United States when it comes time for the midterms. They feel that there's going to be this general shift away from Republicans that are in favor of more authoritarian policies.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is about this is that Magyar, the leader of this party, wasn't really that interested in politics. He used to be a former Orban ally, and suddenly became a critic, and then left politics altogether. Only in the last couple of years to be convinced that actually setting up an alternative party.
Well, we should tell everybody that Magyar, Magyar, is the name that Hungarians give their own country. They call this country Magyar, right? So, and they are Magyarians, I suppose you would call it that. But they, what we call Hungary, they call Magyar.
Yeah.
So, and they are also they're also one of the countries with a unique language. Hungarian is more related to Finnish and Estonian than it is to any other language in and around it. That's an interesting little fact.
Well, they're a lot further south than both those nations, you know. And Orban basically portrayed himself as an anti-globalist, champion of national sovereignty, railing against immigration, and he kind of wrote a new constitution, reshaping Hungary in that image.
Yes, kind of sort of dig up the sort of national pride of Hungary again, and Hungary is supposed to be, along with Israel, supposed to be one of the most prejudiced countries in the world. You know, they're supposed to be extremely, what do you call it? I don't know, egocentric, or they're supposed to be, the national character of Hungarians are supposed to be very prejudiced. They kind of like tie with Israel for that. You know, they're more xenophobic. They're more xenophobic, afraid of the other. And you can see that, well, that's part of Israel's policy to have a ethno-religious state. So you can kind of understand it there. But apparently that's the character of the Hungarians. They don't really like too many other people from other places. Overall, they like to have a solid Hungarian, and they don't want to have too many immigrants in their mix. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, but he conceded defeat basically about 13 hours ago.
Yeah. Well, I think, he lost the election. And the thing here, what I was looking at, I was looking for the election to be fixed, because Orban had made a lot of questionable moves that may have limited the ability for the democracy to function well enough. I'm glad that he was not elected, because that shows to me that the democracy is still alive in Hungary, and that was getting to be dubious according to any kind of press release I ever read. Like what Orban was doing was more authoritarian and trying to limit his the resistance to him, limit the democratic process that might get rid of him. He wasn't successful in that, or it was overstated, one of the two. But I was very glad to see that he lost. I mean, he might win the next election, next time round. Who knows? But the fact that he lost this election tells me that the democracy is still thriving in Hungary.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, and one of the things that Magyar has promised is that he's going to actually be going on a trip to Brussels to reignite relations with the European Union.
Yes, Orban, stuck it in the eye of the European Union. Was the real outlier there in the European Union. He was actually being feared, not like Meloni, not like Meloni. Meloni is a right-wing politician in Italy, but she's not scary like Orban was. Orban looked as if he may take Hungary out of, become very much less democratic and not really sort of, cooperative with the European Union, which would have been kind of a disaster, I think. But anyway, the fact of the matter is, democracy is alive and well in Hungary. They have changed their leadership, and good luck going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay. Moving on. U.S. warships enter the Straits of Hormuz. Basically, they turned off their signaling system, the AIS system, when they entered the Straits. They turned it back on when they got through the Straits of Hormuz. So these are two ships, the Michael Murphy and the Frank E. Peterson. So they both transited the Straits of Hormuz successfully. Although this is, of course, not the Iranians are not very happy about this.
No, the Americans took advantage of a ceasefire. Supposed to have a ceasefire, and of course they pushed it. That's probably one of the reasons why the negotiations didn't work, because of course they just started making advantage of it, and then went through and said, okay, we're cleaning up mines and all that other stuff. But I think it's a kind of a demonstration. Yeah, we can go through this anytime we want to, but I'm not so sure we're going to get the truth about what happened. The Iranians said that they turned them back. The Americans said that they went through. Some say that they were set upon by drones. Others say that there was nothing like that, and so on and so forth. Americans said they cleaned up a whole lot of mines. We're not getting the truth from anyone here.
Yeah.
You cannot, you definitely cannot, you can't believe the Iranians, what they say. You can't believe the U.S., what they say. And you definitely cannot believe the Israelis. They're even the worst of all three. So who are you going to get the truth from? It's going to be a hard call here. You're going to have to get some intrepid sort of journalist that somehow finds his way to the Gulf of Hormuz and can actually see what's going on. But we do know that there are mines there, and we do know that maybe Iran won't throw missiles at the warships. They'll leave them for the tankers. Who says the tankers are going to go through anyway now? Just because the warships went through doesn't mean the tankers will, because they can still be attacked by Iran, and the insurance companies will lose their brains. You could put as many. You need. I mean, 3 or 4 warships for every 8 ships that go through there as in a convoy. It was a very expensive thing to have have a system where the Navy, even the most powerful Navy in the world. The other thing, of course, is the United States is doing a blockade. They're doing Iran's work for them. I don't get this at all. So, and the Chinese had a lot of fun with this. So, of course, now you have the Iranian blockade, right? You can't get through unless you pay us X amount of money, or unless you get permission from us, then you can go through. So the United States has decided we're going to block all the ships. Nobody could get in or out, right? So the Iranians are saying, well, we can't sell our oil, but they're doing the rest of the work for us. They're blockading it and stifling world economy, because that was our bargaining chip. That's our leverage on the world economy, put heat on the world economy. So the United States is doing that for us. It is one of the things that Trump was advised to do, but nobody thought that he was actually going to do it, because it kind of did what exactly the Iranians were doing, except the Iranians can't sell their own oil, but nobody else can sell their oil either. So if no ships can go in and out without the U.S. permission, the Chinese have made a joke about this and say, okay, here's the Iranian blockade here at the Straits of Hormuz. Over here in the Gulf of Oman, here's the line for the Americans blockade. And the Chinese says, I think we're going to put one behind the Americans. We'll have ours behind the Americans, and then we'll see. Maybe the Brits will have one behind us, and so on and so forth. Right? So they're making a lot of fun. I don't know what Trump wants to gain from this. His only option really is to escalate, or get out. If he gets out, he looks like he loses. But if he escalates, he looks like he loses.
Yeah.
We can expect very high gas prices for a very long time, because, I mean, they have done nothing to resolve this issue right now. What the Americans and Israelis got to do is stop bombing Iran, and maybe you can start making some sort of concessions. But what the Americans are trying to do, and the Israelis are trying to do, is start these ceasefire talks so they can figure out where the different leaders live, and then bomb them. get them, and it takes them a while sometimes. The last guy they bombed, it took them weeks to find him and finally kill him, and every one of the leaders in Iran are worried about the same thing. Like, if we start negotiations with you, we expose ourselves, and all you do is kill us.
Yeah.
I mean, they killed back in March 15th. I think it was around March 15th. They had, even back then, just 2 weeks after the war started, they opened negotiations with some of the Iranians. The Israelis found out about and killed them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where Trump says, I kind of like, the first level's gone, the second level's gone, and even the third level's gone. And I was kind of hoping some of them would stay alive so I could talk to them, but the Israelis killed them. So I don't know where this is going. I don't know what you think about this. Having the United States blockade everything that's coming out there. Obviously, they're trying to blockade Iranian oil, but they're also not solving the Hormuz situation, where the Iranians will not let anyone else go through.
Yeah. And Rick said something here which I've been thinking about myself. Typically, when we go to summer blend of gas, the price goes up 5 or 6 cents a liter, and he just told me it's going up Wednesday. So there we go. So we do expect a rise of 5 or 6 cents a liter Wednesday. Last time I was looking at the gas, it was 163, but
yeah, it had come down quite a bit. Yeah,
it had come down.
It was close to $1.80 for a while.
Yeah, but again, it hasn't come down. It just basically, this Straits of Hormuz situation has settled it down a little bit, but not enough.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling that this short-term pain that Trump has said we got to endure, the short-term pain is going to be a lot longer than we think.
It's not short-term.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot longer. And we find that I have no idea. He got talked into this by Netanyahu. Now, of course, Netanyahu would say, "Look, they're having riots in the streets now. People are trying to overturn the government. They're having riots there. The economy of Iran is strained completely, and we just bombed the crap out of them, and so they don't have any nuclear future left. So let's pretend they still do have a nuclear future, and continue this. And if we do this correctly, we can win a quick war and change the regime, or destabilize Iran." Well, it didn't work. Now Trump is the guy that has to, Israel don't care. Israel gets blown up. They just say, "Hey, U.S., give us some more money so we can build back anything that got destroyed. Hey, U.S., give me some more bombs. We need some more bombs. If you don't give me more bombs, we're going to go to AIPAC and make life difficult for you." So they don't care. They don't care how much money they spend or how much, because they don't spend it. They just leech off the U.S. So Netanyahu's in a sweet spot there. He's got Trump under his thumb. But Trump doesn't know what to do. He's wiggling around all over the place. One minute he's saying he's going to destroy an entire civilization. The next minute he says he's going to open the Straits of Hormuz, but instead he blockades them. He's all over the planet.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, and completely out to lunch, unfortunately.
Yeah, he just does not know where to go with this. But I don't think that they went to get some peace deals going. I don't think they were serious about them in the first place. I don't think they were at all. Yeah. I think they're just buying some time to figure out what next to do. And they have a whole lot of armed forces in the region. I think the only option for Trump is really escalation. He's brought in more Navy. He's brought in more troops, more Air Force. He's got a whole lot of military hardware. He's got more and more men. He's got more and more naval and more airplanes and bombs set to go. So when he says he's locked and loaded, ready to go, I think he is. But where is he going to go? Is he going to destroy an entire civilization, do a massive genocide like he promised a few days ago or last week? That would be the end of him. No one will accept that. Not even the most grotesque right-wing guy he's got in his government won't go for that. Maybe Hexeth, because he's an idiot. Aside from that.
All right. Then also related to this, Russia warns the US of risk of World War III right now.
Yeah, so basically what the Russia is complaining about there, the depth of the attacks from the Ukraine into their own territory. And they're saying, oh, no, this is a war between us and Ukraine. So if you allow your weapons to be given to the Ukraine and bomb our facilities well within our territory, that makes you complicit. That makes you, we'll attack you too. Maybe we'll attack you. Maybe that'll start World War III. So if Germany or England or whatever gives us the missiles that go deep into our territory, beyond what we consider the frontiers of that war, that makes you complicit, and maybe we'll fight back. Maybe we'll throw a bomb at you. Maybe we'll ignite World War III. It's huff and bluster. The Russians are in a very, very bad place right now. They're losing a lot of men in that war. It's not going well for them. It's not going well for them at all.
Well, actually, the thing is about this is that Zelensky's troops basically have changed tack. They're now Zelensky. The Ukraine has actually put a lot of faith in drones, so they're fighting a war by drones, and they're succeeding in fighting a war by drones. And most of these drones are actually made in Ukraine. I'm not saying Ukrainian technology, but made in Ukraine.
Well, I think they learned because the Iranians had such success with drones. They sold them to the Russians, who had a great deal of success with drones. So they just picked up on that and did the same thing. But their drones are very vast and varied. They get really small ones so they could chase down individual soldiers with these little drones. They could search all over the place, find an individual soldier and kill them, and they can send the bigger drones that have more bombs on them. Plus they have excellent anti-drone technology that is much better than what the United States has right now.
Yeah.
And that's why the U.S. is using it, no matter what Trump says. He says, oh, we're not, but they are. And so if you remember correctly, back in the beginning of this war, it was all about artillery shells. Artillery shells. Yeah. Biden was under pressure because the U.S. was running out of what? Artillery shells, right? Artillery was the thing that was killing most of the people. And we reported it here on the show that over 9 out of every 10 soldiers on either side were killed by an artillery shell. Those are the fatalities or casualties are from artillery shells. That's changed. Drones are the ones that are taking the most lives right now. Artillery is still there. Mortars are still there. But the most dominant defensive and offensive weapons are now drones, small and large.
Oh yeah,
they are and they are extremely effective, because if you have a guy on an artillery piece lobbing shells at you, you can see him and destroy him. But it's pretty hard to find a guy who's driving a drone around, hidden someplace, flying a drone around with an explosive charge on it. He's flying it around all the little nooks and crannies of all the fields and finds a Russian soldier and dives down and kills him. Then he starts out his next drone. How do you find that guy? You can find the artillery piece. You can knock that out. But how do you find the guy that's in a little bunker someplace playing video games, basically.
Yeah. And the thing about that is that he's as likely to be in a bunker in Kiev as anywhere else. And the only identifying feature will probably be massive radio masts on it, I would think.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to find. And the Ukrainians have devised some extraordinarily good anti-drone technology where they have these. So you have a drone coming over, it's worth $10,000 to $30,000 to say an Iranian or Russian drone, and they can send up a little drone that's worth just a few $100 that has an explosive device on it. They don't even have to hit it; they have to get close, and then they can blow up and damage the drone enough for it to collapse. So you have drones were a very inexpensive way of fighting a war, as the U.S. has found out to their chagrin. These very cheap drones that they have to knock out of the sky with missiles that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're trying to knock a drone out of the sky with a missile of $100,000, and the drone costs $30,000. Well, the same thing the Ukrainians are doing, are now knocking out these $30,000 drones with little tiny ones that are hunter-seeker drones. Yeah. That's their job. They hunt and seek, and they listen for sound patterns, recognizable sound patterns, and they go towards them. And when they find the drone, they blow up and disable the drone enough that it crashes.
And probably those drones don't actually even have to be piloted.
They may not be. They might not have to be, but I'm not so sure about it. But they've really evolved that technology. Yeah, well, it's actually a lot of the drone technology and the ideas of drone warfare were devised by a Ukrainian of Ukrainian descent, a naturalized Ukrainian. I just found that out yesterday. Can't remember his name though. Well, he wrote a book about it.
If you remember back in the old days, sort of 10 or 20 years ago, before the use of drones, try flying a model aeroplane. You had to actually know how to fly the aeroplane, do all of the technology, manage the flaps. It was particularly confusing with like flying a helicopter, a model helicopter. You'd have to actually have your fingers on about 4 buttons or simultaneously. The thing about drones is they've taken away all of the kind of flying thing. It just is all you're guiding is where to. And now once you're there, here's what I want you firing on.
Yeah, I saw one the other day. Sort of a demonstration where the drone was zooming around fields and broken down buildings and so on. Yeah. It was just snooping around. It caught a movement somewhere where a Russian soldier was hiding. It caught a little movement, made its way into a broken down old home, saw the Russian soldiers and just went at it. The last thing you saw was the Russian soldier trying to shoot at the thing. And you don't know the end result. It's probably just blown itself up, either injured or killed the soldier.
Yeah. And they're acting like an eye in the sky nowadays, aren't they?
They're an eye in the sky. They're a reconnaissance thing. They're a weapon. They're a multi-dimensional thing. The skies are going to be full of them. If the Americans are going to attack Karg Island, they say that the Iranian soldiers that are still left there have all kinds of these small explosive drones that they are going to attack the American invading force with. I don't know how effective they are, but that's something that the Americans have said that's something we have to defend ourselves. And I don't know if the Americans have an equivalent.
Yeah. I don't know that they do actually, because these have been inventions by entirely by people facing local conditions, right?
Yeah, I'm sure the Americans have stepped it up, and they're going to do their same thing. Their Reaper drones and so on are some of the best in the world, but they're very, very expensive, and they can be shot out of the sky. The very idea that you swarm something with inexpensive ordnance like drones and it's shown in the expense of the war when a lot of drones or inexpensive missiles go over Israel. They throw up all these Patriot missiles or THAAD missiles and so on and so forth. They're super expensive, and they're shooting at things that aren't very expensive at all. And so the cost factor is incredible. Plus, the amount of time it takes to make a Patriot missile compared to how long it takes a cheap missile or a drone. So the cost factor is incredible for the U.S.
When you think about it, you can buy these drones for probably for less than $100 in some stores, right?
Well, yeah, they can be made very easy. You put a little bomb on them, like Hezbollah took out 20-some tanks or something like that. I don't know how many exactly they did, but obviously they've taken out at least a dozen. They say maybe more than that of Makata tanks, the really good Israel tank, because they take a cheap drone with an anti-tank bomb on it and zoom over to it and knock it out. They've knocked out a bunch of things like that. They've stopped a couple of Israeli invasions on the north side of the Litani River using stuff like that. So that's going to be part of work moving forward, is going to be these little devices that are so deadly, and they're besting some very expensive stuff. And remember too, the expense of this war, it took the U.S. as much as good as it is. They got their 2 guys from the F-15 in Iran. They saved them. They rescued them. It cost them $600 billion to do that. $600 billion to rescue 2 guys.
Yeah.
They lost more aircraft than they have since the I don't know, Vietnam War, or maybe even World War II. I can't remember, but it goes way back on that one day.
Yeah.
The expense of this war is insane.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on the war?
Nothing much, except that I hope it ends very soon. I hope everybody gets just stops, opens up the Straits of Hormuz to fertilizer, because Trump's now belly aching about fertilizer. He's going on about fertilizer. He's saying that he's going to supply it to his farmers. I don't know where he's going to get it. If they get it from the Middle East, I don't know if they get it from the Middle East, but I'm more concerned about the fertilizer going to places like Africa and Asia where they need it. They're not going to have full harvest if they don't get this fertilizer. That means starvation and hardship.
Yeah.
All these different countries around the world are going to need oil and gas as well, not to mention aluminum. So the faster they get that damn thing open, the better. And they better come up with some kind of face-saving solution, because Trump's in a situation right now. He only has one thing he can do, and that is escalate. And he doesn't know how to do a face-saving. I won already. He's already said he won already. And Vance says, well, we already won. We're just looking for extras right now. We already won. We could walk away today and we won. So why are they still there? Get out of there then. If you won, go away.
Yeah.
Open up the straits. I mean, you smashed Iran to smithereens. What more do you want?
Yeah. All right. Niagara's economy is poised for a gradual rebound. Economists are projecting about 2.4% GDP improvement this year. Sorry, I think I've gotten an old article here somehow.
Have you? Well, I posted that was right from the Niagara Falls Review. Let me look at what I got here.
That's better.
Mine's April 10th.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's
it's
it's a
okay.
couple days old. Yeah.
No, that's okay. Something an old one opened up, right? Showing 1% following a 2.1% increase last year. So a small 1% increase in the state of the economy this year. So manufacturing, construction expected to lead growth in 26, particularly since the battery plant in Port Coburn is still on target.
Yeah, well, and it also talks about don't like we are going to crawl out of this because, and they mentioned the tariffs and the different things that are happening, and we're going to crawl out of this, but not anytime soon, because our year coming forward, the 2026, will not be as good. Will not equal last year, but after 2026, it seems that we should be able to. They expect here actually that the tariffs will be reduced, probably because of the Supreme Court, how they came to their conclusions in the U.S. But it still isn't. It isn't a bed of roses, basically. It says it will take us a while to overcome the tariffs, but they expect the tariffs to be reduced here in 2020 after 2026. But they don't expect any great hoofra coming forward, and that's kind of a little depressing. They kind of put a little bit of positive spin on a very negative story. The negative story being that things aren't going to get too much better this year, but are expected to get better later. Don't worry, it's going to get better, but not anytime soon.
But again, Destination Niagara strategy is aiming to increase annual visitors from 13 million a year to 20 million a year. Not so sure that this is necessarily with the war going on. Traveling tends to be one of the victims of it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it released an outlook for St. Catharines, Niagara, examining economic trends through to 2030 and outlined factors expected to support or hinder growth. And Niagara's economy grew 2.1% in 25, but the growth is expected to slow down to 1% in 2026. That does not sound good. And this is the part that I remember that I was just talking about. In 2027, growth is projected to rebound to 2.1%, like it was last year, and before averaging 2.3% annually from 28 to 30, which is not robust, but it is still growing. No. But the 2026 is like a bit of a sad story there. That can't be too good of news for people looking for jobs, or the small business people who depend on a little bit more vibrant economy.
Yeah.
And it says here, Niagara, and it quotes, has been hit quite a bit. I would say more than other regions. It's had a lot of things going on. The economist Victor Sisman pointed to impacts across the service, tourism, construction industry. We're slowly seeing Niagara moving, getting better things, et cetera, et cetera. One key assumption, and this is a problem. They're making this assumption, and I'm not so sure they should. One key assumption is the forecast the United States will lift its tariffs by 2027. That's a good guess, but it's a guess.
Yeah. I don't think that'll happen. I think you will see, the Supreme Court has already made their pronouncement on tariffs. I think part of the reason we've had this war in Iran is because the tariff situation has run out of steam for Trump right now.
Well, the biggest problem he has is that the Senate, which is dominated by Republicans, and the Congress too, which is majority Republican, both voted against the elimination of USMCA. They want the USMCA to stay, and they voted sort of symbolically to maintain Kuzma, what we call Kuzma, what they call USMCA. So the average American senator and the average American congressman are not too happy what's happening in their states because of the tariff against Canada and against Mexico. So they've made that very well known that they are against the tariffs that Trump has put on Mexico and Canada. They see a lot of advantages to the free trade that goes across the borders. Whether Trump will listen to that, I'm not so sure. I have a feeling Trump's going to be out of the picture in 2027, either completely or at least partially, because the kind of things he's doing right now, calling for the obliteration, the genocidal destruction of an entire civilization in one night, blasting a whole country back to the Stone Age. That may be the madman politics that was pioneered by Nixon and Kissinger, but he's not doing it that well. No. That madman stuff was supposed to be on the sly. You talked about it without anyone else knowing about it. He's, in this particular case, he's acting like the madman himself, if that's his strategy, but it really doesn't sound good to anyone.
Yeah.
Even the most MAGA person, you want to destroy a complete civilization. You want to, the people that you asked to rebel and that we are behind you, here we come, we're going to help you when you were riding, and now you're going to destroy their complete civilization. It just doesn't work. So I think he's going to be pushed out. He's saying more and more dumber things for whatever reason. I don't know. His plans aren't working that well. We will see. We will see what the blockade brings. And if he starts to escalate the war, nobody's going to like it. And I have a feeling that if he calls for a complete obliteration of Iran, he's going to get a lot of his armed forces refusing to do that. I would. Mm-hmm. If he told me go bomb that desalination plant, I'd say no. People need to drink water. What do you want to bomb that desalination plant so one IRGC guy doesn't get water and 100,000 of ordinary citizens can't get water?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'll bomb their planes. I'll bomb their missile silos, but what are you gonna want me to bomb a desalination plant? Seriously?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
Well, he's gone. He's on his way out. That's my prediction. Trump is, I don't think the Republicans, not even a weird little guy like Johnson can spin what he's been saying lately. And I saw Ben Shapiro trying to argue on behalf of Trump the other day, and not once did he say anything about that bombing, even though that he went on about the options they had, but not once when he was going over the war between Iran, Israel, and the United States did he say anything about Trump's threat to annihilate the whole population or anything. So he's leaving big hunks of stuff out, right, to make his argument.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I think we're going to have to leave at that point because you've got to go and do your money pickup.
Bingo. Yep.
Bingo. Yep. That's it. And I've got to get going for a hearing this morning. Another landlord and tenant one.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. I hope you do well for your client. And anyway, I'm gonna bring up Gaza again today because you know what they've done to Gaza, right? They've taken all the Gazans and put them in a small spot. They pushed them all into a little spot. They're doing the same thing in Lebanon right now. So they've taken Gaza, which is small enough, and they jammed them all into the south, and they won't let them out. Won't let them out of there. Won't let them go back to their homes or anywhere else in Gaza. And they say, And if somebody wants out of there, out of the camps, out of the tents, they want to go somewhere else, you can leave if you leave Gaza permanently. You can go to any other country you want, but otherwise you're going to stay here in this tent, and that's where you're going to live your life. So that's what the kind of options they're giving to the Palestinians. They want them out so bad. They're brutal people. They're a brutal regime. And we can't live with that. I don't know why the United States and Canada ever put up with that stuff, ever. And we got to change it. But anyway, without further ado, I bid you adieu, and we'll see you tomorrow. Pray for peace.